Dalvin Cook officially signs with the Jets, and Zeke Elliott, the Patriots counter with Zeke.
What was that?
It's a counter.
Counter.
I don't know.
Okay.
Carry on.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Dalvin Cook signing is the more interesting of the two, I think. And, I mean, so...
Do you answer Walt's trivia question here?
No. Obviously, this was a move that was linked fairly immediately when Dalvin Cook was released. First it was the Dolphins, and then there was a lot of talk he was going to the Jets, and then that didn't happen. He bounced around a little bit, and then he's come back to the Jets. Fundamentally, Dalvin Cook is still a really good running back. Like, he wasn't worth the crazy sum of money that he was on with Minnesota when they signed him to that contract and it had reached this point, which is why they got rid of him. But he's still a really good starting running back. And this conversation of how much is a running back worth? How much can they move the needle? How much will they actually generate wins? I don't think one of the most important points that is probably overlooked a lot of the time is I don't think that is a static constant. It varies depending on what else is already there. So when we were talking about how high can you draft Bijan Robinson, remember, number one, like A or B, the flow chart. Do you have a functioning run game already? Yes or no? If it's no, go back. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Do not sign the running back, right? If it's yes, then we can start having a discussion. The Jets already have a functioning run game. They're already a good offense, at least on paper. So they're immediately in a situation where Dalvin Cook makes a bigger difference to them than he does signing for a team that doesn't have any of that, and he's supposed to carry the load or transform something to this offense. He's a value add on top of what's already functional, as opposed to you're trying to fix something that's an underlying problem. So from that point of view, it's more of a luxury move, not a last roll of the dice, but like one additional thing thrown on top of this to try and get them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it's a good, fine move. I mean, Dalvin, if you remember a couple of years ago, when the Vikings upset the Packers, I think it was the 2021 season, and the big key is Dalvin breaking off big runs and a 60-yard screen. He had that 60-plus yard screen against the Colts in that comeback. There's going to be a game or two this year, I think, where Dalvin Cook creates a big play, and it has a huge impact on the Jets winning a game. You combine that with Breece Hall, who they can ease in coming off of his injury, and Michael Carter. They've got some depth there.
Yeah.
And did we ever have Zonovan Knight? Did we ever have him on the show?
No.
We were talking about it.
Yeah.
So he's an almost friend of the show. Almost. They've got some depth there, but they've got big playability with Dalvin Cook. So obviously, we're PFF. Our take is going to be different than your talk shows that you watch on what used to be cable, on your big network, your network shows, where it's like, who's stopping this Jets offense? And you just plop a Dalvin Cook name there next to all the other big names. It's not that. It's not like, here's the super team. But what it is actually is the times that they do have to rely on the run, create a big play in the pass game out of the backfield where they're not relying on receivers. Dalvin Cook can bring that to the table, as can Breece Hall. So I just think there's more big playability here for the Jets.
Yeah.
And so that should be exciting.
Yeah, I mean,
it's also a point right at the end of the season. There's no real other moves to make. I guess you could trade for a David Bakhtiari. Technically, you could, but you're at this point where there's not a lot of other big splash moves to make. So just kind of using what you have left in cap space to add a running back who does upgrade your running back room is fine.
It's also like the only criticism can be, how much did they pay? Because it's like Dalvin Cook makes every backfield in the NFL better because he's a really good player. So the only criticism with a move like that is, well, how much did it cost for them to make it happen, and would they have been better off using that money somewhere else? Well, you can definitely make that argument if that's the difference between, a trade for David Bakhtiari or not. But assuming in an isolated vacuum, like this was the move they were making, it was either this or nothing, it's good. I mean, Dalvin Cook makes that Jets team better, and then it doesn't really matter how much it costs them to make it happen because it's a short-term deal and it's not like crippling in the long term. It's kind of like, anyone following the transfer sagas in the Premier League at the moment. Like Liverpool desperately need a holding midfielder, and at this point it doesn't really matter if they're overpaying for one because it makes them better.
Have to do it.
Have to do it.